The nightmare always started the same way. Anya was running through dark forests, her small legs pumping desperately, her lungs burning like fire in her chest. The trees around her were twisted and wrong, their branches reaching for her like skeletal fingers trying to drag her down. Behind her, getting closer with every breath, was the monster. A massive wolf with eyes like flames that burned through the darkness. Eyes that promised death. Eyes that found her no matter how fast she ran or how well she hid. The Alpha King, Mama Cora always said in that voice that made Anya's stomach clench with fear. The monster who destroyed packs without mercy. The beast who killed for sport. The demon who would tear Anya apart piece by piece if he ever found her. Who would make her suffer before ending her life. Who had already tried once when she was too young to remember, and who would finish what he'd started if she ever let her guard down. In the dream, Anya could feel his breath on the back of her neck, could smell blood and smoke and something that made her wolf whimper with terror. She ran faster, her child legs stumbling over roots, her hands scraping against bark as she tried to pull herself forward. But he was always there, always hunting, always coming for her. The dream always ended the same way too, with massive jaws closing around her, with pain, with the certainty that this time she wouldn't wake up. That, this time, the Alpha King had finally caught her. Anya woke, gasping sweat soaking through her thin nightshirt and the rough blanket beneath her. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her wolf was pressed close to the surface, ready to shift and run. It took several minutes of sitting in the dark, counting breaths like Mama Cora had taught her, before the panic subsided enough for her to think clearly. 19 years old, and she still had the same nightmare she'd had since she was 4? Since Mama Cora and Papa Silas had found her wandering in the woods, alone and terrified and crying for someone whose name she couldn't remember. They'd brought her home to their small rogue pack, fed her, clothed her, given her a place to sleep. Saved her life, Mama Cora reminded her constantly. Given her a chance when she should have been dead. Anya pulled her knees to her chest and stared at the thin moonlight filtering through the cracks in her small room's walls. The settlement was quiet at this hour, everyone else asleep in their own cramped quarters. The rogue pack wasn't large, maybe 30 wolves total, and resources were scarce. Anya's room was barely big enough for a bed and a small trunk for her few possessions. The walls were thin enough that she could hear Papa Silas snoring in the next room over, but it was home. Or at least, it was the only home she remembered. Everything before age 4 was a blur of fear and fragments. Running, hiding, the smell of smoke, screams she couldn't place, and always, always, the certainty that something terrible was chasing her. The Alpha King tried to kill you, Mama Cora had told her countless times over the years. Sitting beside Anya's bed after particularly bad nightmares, she'd stroke Anya's hair with false gentleness and weave the story that had become Anya's entire reality. Your birth pack angered him. Somehow we never learned exactly what they did, but it must have been terrible. Alpha King Kieran, Nightshade, doesn't forgive slights. He came with his warriors in the middle of the night and slaughtered everyone. Every man, every woman, every child. The whole pack, gone in hours, blood and fire and death. Mama Cora would pause here, let the horror sink in, let Anya imagine the massacre. You were the only survivor. Just 4 years old. Somehow you escaped into the forest. You ran for days, half-starved, terrified, alone. When we found you, you were more animal than child. Couldn't even remember your own name. Could barely speak. Just kept saying monster and run over and over. We saved you, Papa Silas would add when he was part of these conversations, his voice gruff but with an edge that demanded gratitude. Took you in when we had barely enough food for our own pack. Kept you hidden when the Alpha King's warriors came looking for survivors to finish off. Raised you as our own, even though you brought nothing but danger to our door. Anya had believed this for 15 years, had spent her childhood flinching at every mention of the Alpha King Kieran Nightshade, had learned to suppress her scent with arbs and magic, taught herself to keep her head down and never draw attention, had been told repeatedly that she was lucky to be alive, that she owed Mama Cora and Papa Silas everything, her life, her safety, her very existence. Without them she'd be dead, torn apart by the monster who'd destroyed her birth pack. The debt was enormous, unpayable, and Mama Cora and Papa Silas never let her forget it. But lately, something had been bothering her. Little inconsistencies that didn't quite fit the narrative she'd been taught. Strange comments that Mama Cora would make and then quickly try to cover. The way Papa Silas tensed whenever Anya asked about her birth family, his eyes going distant and guilty before he'd snap at her to stop asking questions that didn't matter. Like, why would the Alpha King waste resources hunting for one 4-year-old survivor? If he'd truly wanted to massacre an entire pack, why would he care about a child who'd escaped? What threat could a toddler possibly pose? And why were there no other refugees from her birth pack? No other survivors who'd managed to escape and warn neighboring packs? Why had no one ever come looking for her? Not friends of her parents, not distant relatives, not pack members who might have been traveling when the attack happened. The questions multiplied the older Anya got. The story that had seemed tragic and terrifying when she was young now had holes she couldn't ignore. But every time she tried to voice these doubts, Mama Cora would get a look on her face, something between fear and anger, and remind Anya how ungrateful she was being. How questioning their story meant questioning whether she deserved to be saved at all. So Anya had learned to keep her doubts quiet. Learned to smile and nod and say thank you for the 100th time. Learned to swallow her questions and pretend the story made sense. And then there was the locket. The one possession Anya had from before, from those lost years she couldn't remember. She'd been wearing it when Mama Cora and Papa Silas found her, they'd admitted reluctantly. A silver chain with a pendant that Anya had refused to let go of even when she was half feral with fear and trauma. The locket itself was beautiful real silver, not cheap metal, engraved with intricate patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Words in a language Anya couldn't read, wrapped around the edges elegant script that looked ancient and important. On the back, a crest she didn't recognize, some kind of wolf beneath a crescent moon surrounded by stars. Mama Cora had tried to take it from her dozens of times over the years, always with the same excuse. It's dangerous, she'd say, her fingers reaching for the chain around Anya's neck. The Alpha King could track it, could use magic to find you through it. You need to let me destroy it, keep you safe. But something in Anya had always refused. Some instinct deeper than conscious thought told her the locket was important, that it was hers in a way nothing else was, that giving it up would mean losing some essential piece of herself she couldn't name but desperately needed to keep. So she'd hidden it, kept it wrapped in cloth at the bottom of her trunk during the day, only wore it at night when everyone else was asleep, learned to tuck it under her shirt so the outline wouldn't show, became an expert at misdirection whenever Mama Cora asked about it, claiming she'd lost it, or buried it, or thrown it away like she'd been told to do. The locket had become her secret, her small rebellion against the constant gratitude and fear that defined her life, her one possession that was hers alone, that connected her to a past she couldn't remember but somehow desperately missed. Tonight, unable to sleep after the nightmare that had been particularly vivid and terrifying, Anya pulled the locket from its hiding place under her mattress. The metal was warm from being against her skin earlier, and it caught the moonlight in a way that made the engravings seem to glow. She turned it over in her hands, studying every detail she'd memorized over 15 years. The weight of it, the way the chain links connected, the tiny imperfections in the silver that made it feel real and lived in rather than mass-produced. And for the first time, really paying attention instead of just holding it for comfort, she noticed something. a tiny irregularity along the seam where the two halves of the locket met. Not damage. Not wear. A deliberate mechanism. A clasp so cunningly hidden she'd never seen it before, despite holding this locket thousands of times. Her hands shook as she pressed the clasp with her thumbnail. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she felt something give way with the smallest click. The locket popped open, revealing an interior she'd never known existed. Inside was a photograph so small she had to hold it up to the moonlight and squint to see details. The image was faded with age, but still clear enough to make out. A man, huge, powerful, with dark hair that fell to his shoulders, held a baby wrapped in soft blankets. The baby's face was turned toward the camera, tiny features peaceful in sleep. And the man's face, Anya's breath caught. The man was looking at the baby with an expression of such profound love and joy that it made her chest ache. Like this baby was his entire world. Like he would do anything, fight any enemy, face any danger, give his own life to keep this child safe. It was the look of a father completely in love with his daughter. And on his chest, embroidered on the formal shirt he wore, was a royal crest. The same crest from the back of the locket. A wolf beneath a crescent moon. The crest of the Nightshade royal family. The crest of the Alpha King. Anya stared at the photo for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Studied every detail. The man's face, handsome, strong, but with a gentleness in his eyes that contradicted everything she'd been told about the Monster King. The baby's small hand clutching the man's finger. The soft lighting that suggested this was a private moment, not a formal portrait. The way the man held the baby carefully, protectively, like she was made of something precious and fragile. With trembling fingers, Anya turned the photo over. On the back, in elegant script that had faded but was still legible, were words that made her world tilt off its axis. Kieran and Anya. 6 months Kieran, the Alpha King's name, and Anya, her name. Together. 6 months. This didn't make sense. Nothing about this made sense. If the Alpha King had tried to kill her, why would he have a photo of them together where he looked like he loved her more than life itself? If he'd destroyed her birth pack in a rage, why would there be a picture of him cradling her like she was infinitely precious? Unless everything she'd been told was a lie? The thought hit her like physical blow. 15 years of believing one story. 15 years of nightmares about being hunted. 15 years of fearing the man in this photo who looked at baby her with such devastating love. What if she hadn't been running from the Alpha King? What if she'd been running to him and someone had intercepted her? What if the monster she'd been taught to fear was actually "You're up late"? Mama Cora's voice cut through Anya's spiraling thoughts like a knife. She stood in the doorway of Anya's small room, her expression unreadable in the darkness. "What's that in your hand?" "Nothing." Anya's response was automatic, her fingers closing around the locket protectively. But she'd hesitated too long. Moved too slowly. Mama Cora crossed the room faster than should have been possible for a woman her age. Her hand shot out and snatched the locket from Anya's grip before Anya could pull away. "I told you to destroy this. Told you it was dangerous. Told you." She opened the locket, saw the photograph, and went absolutely pale, all the blood draining from her face as if she'd been struck. "Where did you get this?" Her voice came out strangled. "Where did you find this photo?" "It was in the locket. It's always been in the locket. I just never knew how to open it before tonight." Anya stood, her own shock transforming into something harder, something angry. "Why is there a picture of the Alpha King holding me? Why does it say Kieran and Anya? Why does he look like he loves me? You don't understand. It's complicated," Mama Cora tried to close the locket, tried to hide the evidence. But Anya grabbed her wrist. "Then explained it." Anya's voice rose to a shout. She didn't care anymore if she awoke the entire settlement. Didn't care about being grateful, or quiet, or obedient? 15 years. 15 years of nightmares about the Alpha King hunting me. 15 years of being told he tried to kill me when I was 4. 15 years of believing I was running from a monster. And now I find a photo of him holding me like I'm his entire world. So explain to me how that's complicated. Mama Cora's face went through a rapid series of expressions: fear, guilt, anger, calculation. She looked toward the door as if considering calling for Papa Silas. Then she looked back at Anya and seemed to realize there was no way out of this except the truth. "Sit down." Her voice had lost its usual commanding tone. Now she just sounded tired, old, defeated. "You deserve the truth. The real truth. Not the story we've been telling you." Anya sat on the edge of her narrow bed, her heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. Her hands were still shaking. The locket lay open between them, the photograph a silent accusation. Mama Cora was quiet for a long moment, staring at that photo like it was a death sentence. Finally, she began to speak. 19 years ago, you were born to Alpha King Kieran, Nightshade, and his mate, Luna Queen Zero. You were their only child, their precious daughter, their heir to the Nightshade throne. Her voice was flat, emotionless, like she was reciting facts she'd tried to forget. Your father loved you more than anything in this world. Would have done anything for you. Protected you with everything he had. And that she stopped, swallowed hard. That made you valuable to the wrong people. Valuable how? Anya's voice came out barely above a whisper. The Alpha King had enemies. Powerful ones who'd been trying for years to find a weakness they could exploit. They couldn't touch him directly. He was too strong, too well protected, too politically connected. But you, Mama Cora finally met Anya's eyes. You were a baby, vulnerable, perfect leverage. They thought if they took you, they could force the Alpha King to abdicate. Could control the most powerful wolf in 5 kingdoms by threatening his daughter. So they hired you. The pieces were falling into place now, each one more damning than the last. They hired you to take me. Yes. The admission came out like a confession. We were paid a fortune. More money than our small rogue pack had seen in generations. All we had to do was kidnap you and hold you until the political situation resolved. A few weeks, they said. Maybe a month. Keep you alive and unharmed but hidden. Then we'd return you, collect our final payment, and disappear into new lives as wealthy wolves. But something went wrong. Everything went wrong. Mama Cora's voice turned bitter. The people who hired us, the conspiracy leaders, they were killed within days of your kidnapping. Some by the Alpha King's forces once he figured out who was behind it. Some by their own allies turning on each other. The whole plot fell apart. And we were left with a 4-year-old princess and no way to return her without being executed for kidnapping royalty. Anya felt sick. Physically sick. She pressed her hand to her mouth, fighting nauseas. So you kept me. Made me believe my father tried to kill me. Made me fear the one person who was probably desperately searching for me. We had no choice. Mama Cora's voice rose defensively. If we'd tried to return you, we'd have been executed. Slowly. Publicly. The Alpha King doesn't show mercy to wolves who hurt his daughter. We'd seen what he did to the other conspirators. He tore them apart personally. We couldn't, we had to. You had to save yourselves. So you traumatized a 4-year-old child. Made her believe she was being hunted by a monster. Made her have nightmares for 15 years about being killed by her own father. Anya stood up abruptly, her wolf surging close to the surface. Power she'd been taught to suppress was suddenly very close to breaking free. Do you have any idea how cruel that is? How evil? We kept you alive, Mama Cora shot back. We could have killed you, left no witness, ensured our own safety. But we didn't. We raised you. Fed you, gave you shelter. That counts for something. You kept me as a prisoner. You kept me isolated and afraid and grateful for scraps. Anya's voice cracked. I was 4 years old. You could have returned me at any point in 15 years. You could have left me somewhere I'd be found. You could have, she stopped, realization hitting her. My father, he's been searching for me, hasn't he? For 15 years. He's never stopped looking. Mama Cora didn't answer. She didn't have to. The guilty silence was answer enough. Anya ran, shifted mid-stride, her wolf bursting free with all the pent-up emotion of the revelation. She ran through the rogue pack settlement, past the few ramshackle buildings, into the forest beyond. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs shook and she couldn't run anymore. Then she collapsed beside a stream and let herself cry. For the father she'd never known. For the childhood that had been stolen. For 15 years of fearing the one person who probably loved her most. She didn't know how long she sat there. But eventually, she became aware of something. A presence. Multiple presences. Wolves surrounding her, moving with military precision. She tensed, ready to run again. But then she caught a scent. Clean, powerful, familiar in a way she couldn't explain. Like something she'd known before language, before conscious thought, before memory. A massive wolf emerged from the trees, larger than any she'd ever seen, with midnight black fur and eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. He moved toward her carefully, like approaching a spooked animal. When he was close enough, he shifted. The man from the photo stood before her, older now, with lines on his face that spoke of stress and grief and years of searching. But the same, undeniably the same. Anya. His voice was rough, disbelieving. Is it you? He stopped, swallowed hard. I've been looking for you for 15 years. Anya couldn't speak. Could only stare at this man, this alpha king who was supposed to be her nightmare. Who looked at her like she was the answer to every prayer he'd ever made. I'm not here to hurt you. Kieran's hands were raised, non-threatening. I know what they've probably told you about me. I know you've been raised to fear me. But Anya, his voice cracked. You're my daughter. My only child. You were taken from me when you were 4 years old and I've spent every day since trying to find you. Please, please. Don't run. The locket. Anya's voice came out hoarse. I found a photo of you holding me, looking likely you loved me. I did love you. I do love you. You're my whole world. Kieran moved slightly closer. The day you were taken was the worst day of my life. You were playing in the palace gardens. I turned my back for 1 minute, and you were gone. Just gone. I've had hundreds of wolves searching, following every lead, chasing every rumor of a young female with your description. And tonight, he stopped. Tonight, one of my trackers caught your scent. The scent I memorized from your baby clothes. The scent I've been searching for 15 years. And I came as fast as I could because I was terrified you'd disappear again before I could reach you. Anya felt tears streaming down her face. They told me you tried to kill me. That you destroyed my birth pack. That I was running from you when they saved me. I would never hurt you. Never. Kieran's expression was anguished. You're my daughter. My heir. The most important person in my world. The people who took you, they fed you lies to keep you compliant, to make sure you'd never try to return to me. But Anya, he took another careful step forward. I've been waiting for you. Every single day. Hoping, praying, never giving up. Because you're mine. You're my daughter. And I love you more than my own life. Anya looked at this man, this alpha king who was supposed to be a monster. Who looked at her with a father's desperate love. Who'd spent 15 years searching without giving up hope. And she knew. Bone deep, soul certain, she knew this was truth. This was real. Everything else had been lies. Papa. The word came out broken. You're really my papa? Kieran's face crumpled. Yes, I'm your father. I've always been your father. And I've missed you so much. He opened his arms. Come here. Please. Let me hold my daughter. Anya moved without thinking, crossed the distance between them and crashed into his arms. Kieran caught her, pulled her close, held her like she was infinitely precious. And Anya felt something inside her that had been broken for 15 years finally click back into place. She was home. After 15 years of being lost, she was finally home. Kieran held her for a long time, just breathing, just feeling her alive and real in his arms. When he finally pulled back, his face was wet with tears. I need to get you somewhere safe. The people who took you, they'll realize you know the truth. They might try to. He stopped. I need to protect you. Will you come with me? Let me take you home. Home. Anya tested the word. Where is home? The Nightshade Palace. Your birthplace. The place you were meant to grow up. The place that's been waiting for you. Kieran's voice was gentle. You don't have to decide everything tonight. You don't have to forgive me for losing you, or trust me immediately, or feel anything you're not ready to feel. Just let me keep you safe. Let me give you the life you should have had. Let me be your father. Anya thought about Mama Cora and Papa Silas. The people who'd kidnapped her, who'd lied to her, who'd made her fear her own father, who'd stolen 15 years of family, of love, of knowing who she really was. Yes, she said firmly. Take me home. The journey to Nightshade Palace took 2 days. They traveled with a full security detail, 20 warriors who all bowed to Anya when Kieran introduced her as his daughter. Princess Anya Nightshade, heir to the throne, the lost royal who'd finally been found. It felt surreal. Kieran stayed close to her the entire time, like he was afraid she might disappear if he looked away. He told her stories as they traveled. About her mother, who'd died when Anya was 2. About the palace. About her childhood there before the kidnapping. About the search that had consumed his life for 15 years. I shut down the kingdom for 3 months after you were taken, he said. Every wolf we had was out searching. I offered rewards. Hired trackers. Consulted seers. I tried everything. And for years, nothing. Just dead ends and false leads and hope that kept getting crushed. His voice was rough. I started to think I'd never find you. Started to believe you might be dead. But I couldn't stop searching. Couldn't give up. Because even the smallest chance that you were alive was worth everything. What about the people who hired Mama Cora and Papa Silas? You said they were killed. By who? By me. Kieran's voice went flat. When I found out who'd orchestrated your kidnapping, I eliminated them. All of them. Every conspirator. Every wolf who'd had anything to do with taking my daughter. He looked at her directly. I'm not a gentleman, Anya. I've done things to find you that probably make me a monster. But I'm a monster who loves his daughter. And I'd do every terrible thing again if it meant getting you back. Anya processed this. Her father was dangerous, capable of violence, had killed the people who'd hurt him, but he'd done it for her. Because someone had stolen his child and made him suffer for 15 years. I'm not afraid of you, she said quietly. I was raised to fear you. But now that I know the truth, now that I understand what you've been through, I'm not afraid. You're my father. You loved me enough to never stop searching. That's not monstrous. She stopped. That's love. Kieran pulled her into another hug. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for the years we lost. I promise you that. The Nightshade Palace was overwhelming. Massive stone walls, towers reaching toward the sky, gardens that seemed to stretch for miles. And everywhere, wolves who stopped and stared as Kieran led Anya through the halls. Is that it can't be the lost princess? She's alive! Word spread like wildfire. The Alpha King had found his stolen daughter. The princess who'd been missing for 15 years had come home. Within hours, the entire palace knew. Kieran brought Anya to a suite of rooms that had been preserved exactly as they were 15 years ago. A child's bedroom, frozen in time, waiting for its occupant to return. I couldn't change anything, Kieran said quietly. Couldn't pack up your things or make it look like you weren't coming back? I know it looks like a 4-year-old's room because that's what you were when you left. We can update everything. Make it age appropriate, make it yours. Anya walked through the rooms, touching toys she had vague memories of playing with, looking at books she remembered being read to her, finding a stuffed wolf that triggered a flash of recognition so strong it made her gasp. Mr. Shadows. The name came from nowhere. I remember. You gave him to me. Said he'd protect me when you couldn't be there. You remember? Kieran's voice was thick with emotion. Just flashes, pieces. But yes, I'm starting to remember. Anya turned to face him. How much did I forget? How much did they make me forget? We'll help you remember. Gently, at your own pace. There are therapists who specialize in recovered memories. Healers who can help undo psychological manipulation. You don't have to rush. Kieran moved closer. But Anya, even if you never remember everything, even if those years are just ignored here now, that's what matters. Over the next few weeks, Anya began to settle into palace life. It was jarring, going from a rogue pack settlement to literal royalty. She had servants who wanted to help her dress, tutors who wanted to teach her etiquette, advisors who wanted to brief her on politics. It was overwhelming. But Kieran was patient, letting her adjust at her own pace. Never pushing, never demanding. Just being there whenever she needed him. And slowly, memories started returning. Prompted by familiar spaces, familiar scents, familiar faces. She remembered her mother gentle, with silver hair and kind eyes. Remembered Kieran reading to her before bed. Remembered feeling safe and loved and important. She also remembered the day she was taken, playing in the gardens. A woman approaching with a kind smile, offering candy. Then darkness, pain, fear. Being told her father was dead. Being told she was in danger. Being told to be quiet and obey or the monsters would find her. They conditioned you, the palace therapist explained gently. Used fear to control you. Made you believe lies so you'd never try to go home. It's a common tactic in long-term kidnappings. And reversing that conditioning takes time. Anya had nightmares still. But now they were different. Now she dreamed of being 4 years old, crying for her papa, being told he was gone. She'd wake up gasping and Kieran would be there. He'd moved into the room next to hers, always listening, always ready holding her and promising she was safe now. I'm so sorry, he'd say over and over. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. So sorry you went through that. So sorry I didn't find you sooner. It's not your fault. You searched. You never gave up. You found me. Anya would press closer to him. You're here now. That's what matters. 1 month after returning home, Anya asked about Mama Cora and Papa Silas. What happens to them? For kidnapping me. Kieran's expression went hard. They'll be tried for kidnapping a royal heir. The penalty is execution. But he stopped. But you're the victim. If you wanted to show mercy, I'd consider it. I wouldn't like it, but I'd consider it. Anya thought about the 2 wolves who'd raised her, who'd lied to her, who'd stolen her father's child and made both of them suffer for 15 years, who'd kept her from her real family, her real identity, her real life. No mercy, she said quietly. What they did was unforgivable. They deserve to face the consequences. Are you sure? They did raise you for 15 years. They raised me on lies. Made me fear my own father. Stole 15 years. We can never get back. Anya's voice was firm. I'm sure. The trial happened 2 weeks later. Mama Cora and Papa Silas were brought before the royal court in chains. They looked smaller somehow. Less intimidating. Just two wolves who'd made terrible choices and now faced justice. You are charged with kidnapping Princess Anya, Nightshade, heir to the Nightshade throne, and holding her for 15 years through manipulation and psychological abuse, the judge announced. How do you plead? Guilty. Papa Silas's voice was flat. We did it. We took her. We kept her. We lied to her. We're guilty. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Mama Cora looked at Anya. We kept you alive. That counts for something. You kept me isolated and afraid. That counts for more. Anya's voice was steady. I was 4 years old. You could have returned me at any point in 15 years. You chose not to. You chose to keep me from my father. You chose to lie. Those were choices. And now you face the consequences. The sentence was execution. Public. So everyone would know what happened to wolves who kidnapped royal heirs. Anya attended, stood beside her father while justice was served. Felt no satisfaction, but also no regret. This was right. This was necessary. How do you feel? Kieran asked afterward. Like a chapter closed. Like I can finally move forward. Anya took his hand. I'm ready to be your daughter for real now. Not the stolen child. Not the traumatized victim. Just your daughter. The princess I was meant to be. You've always been my daughter. Always will be. Kieran squeezed her hand. But I'm glad you're ready to fully embrace that. Because I'm ready to fully embrace being your father. Not just the man who lost you. Not just the king who searched to sure Papa. 6 months after her return, Anya stood in the throne room, facing hundreds of assembled wolves. She wore formal regalia, princess's crown, royal colors, jewelry that marked her status. She looked nothing like the scared rogue girl who'd learned the truth in a small settlement 6 months ago. Today, Kieran announced, we formally reinstate Princess Anya Nightshade as heir to the Nightshade throne. She has been found. She has been healed. She has reclaimed her birthright. He looked at her with pride. And she is ready to begin learning what it means to be a future queen. The assembled wolves howled approval. Anya felt the sound resonate through her chest. These were her people. This was her kingdom. This was her future. After the ceremony, Kieran found her on a balcony overlooking the gardens, the same gardens where she'd been taken 15 years ago. Does it bother you? He asked quietly. Being here? Where it happened? At first it did. But now, Anya looked at the space where she'd been playing when Mama Cora had approached. Now it feels like reclaiming something. They took me from here. But I came back. I survived. I won. You did more than survive. You thrived. Despite everything they did to you, every lie they told, every fear they instilled, you're still kind, still strong, still you. Kieran's voice was thick with emotion. I'm so proud of you. Your mother would have been proud too. Tell me about her again. I want to remember. So Kieran told her about Luna Queen Sira, about how they'd met, fallen in love, built a kingdom together, about how thrilled they'd been when Anya was born, about how Sira had died protecting Anya from a rogue attack when Anya was 2, and how Kieran had raised her alone for 2 years before she was taken. She would have fought so hard to keep you safe, Kieran said. Would have never stopped searching, just like me. Would have loved seeing the woman you've become. I wish I remembered her better. I have flashes. Her smell, her voice reading to me, her hands braiding my hair, but nothing concrete. We have photos, videos, her journals, all of it preserved for you whenever you're ready. Kieran put his arm around her shoulders. And Anya, even if you never fully remember her, she loved you. That's the important part. You were loved by both your parents from the moment you were born. 1 year after her return, Anya stood in her updated quarters. No longer a 4-year-old's room, but a princess's suite that reflected who she was. None looked at the locket that had started everything. The photo of Kieran holding her, the proof that had made her question 15 years of lies. She'd kept it, not hidden anymore, but displayed openly on her dresser. A reminder of truth, of a father's love, of the moment everything changed. A knock at her door. "Come in." Kieran entered, holding a small box. "I have something for you." Was waiting for the right moment. Thought maybe tonight's your 1-year anniversary of coming home might be it. He handed her the box. Inside was a crown, smaller than the one she'd worn at her reinstatement. More delicate, beautiful. This was your mother's, given to her when she became queen. She wore it at her coronation, at her mating ceremony, at important moments. Kieran's voice was soft. "I've been keeping it for you, for when you were ready." "Papa, I can't. This is too much. You're her daughter. You're my daughter. You're a princess who's proven herself strong and capable and ready to lead. You deserve to wear your mother's crown." Kieran smiled. "And Anya, she'd be so happy knowing you have it, knowing you're here, knowing you came home." Anya let him place the crown on her head. It fit perfectly, like it had been made for her. Because in a way, it had been. This was her legacy, her birthright. "Her future? Thank you," she whispered. "For never giving up. For searching for 15 years. For loving me enough to never stop hoping. Thank you for being alive. For surviving. For coming home to me." Kieran pulled her into a hug. "I love you, my daughter, my princess, my heir. I've loved you since the moment you were born. I loved you every day you were gone. And I'll love you every day for the rest of my life. I love you too, Papa, and I'm never leaving again. I'm home. Finally, really home." 2 years after her return, Anya stood before the Royal Council presenting her first major policy initiative. She'd spent months researching, consulting experts, building alliances. Now she was ready to implement change. "I propose we establish a task force dedicated to finding kidnapped children, not just royal heirs, but any child taken from their family. We have resources. We have trackers. We have influence. We should use it." Anya's voice was strong, confident. "I was lucky. My father never stopped searching. He had the power to keep looking for 15 years. But most families don't have that. Most families have to give up. I want to change that," the council debated. Some worried about the cost. Others questioned the scope. But Anya argued passionately, and in the end, they approved it. The Nightshade Foundation for Missing Children. Funded by the Crown? Dedicated to bringing stolen children home? "Your mother would have loved this," Kieran said afterward. "She always believed our power should be used to help those who had none. You're continuing her legacy. Our legacy. Yours and hers and mine." Anya smiled. "We're a family. And families protect each other. Even families we haven't met yet. Even children who are lost and scared and being told lies. We're going to find them. We're going to bring them home. Just like you brought me home." "Just like you came home to me," Kieran corrected. "You chose to come back. Chose to believe the truth. Chose to be my daughter again. That was your courage, not mine. It was both of us. Your love that never quit searching. My courage that let me accept the truth. We did it together." Anya took his hand. "And we're going to keep doing it together. For as long as we both live." 5 years after her return, Anya celebrated her 24th birthday in the palace gardens. The same gardens where she'd been taken, But now they were filled with light and laughter and family she'd built over years of healing. Kieran gave a toast. 24 years ago, my daughter was born. The greatest gift I've ever received. 4 years later, she was stolen. The worst trauma I've ever endured. 15 years after that, she came home. The greatest miracle I've ever witnessed. His voice was thick with emotion. And now, 5 years after her return, I get to stand here and celebrate with the strongest, wisest, most compassionate young woman I've ever known. My daughter, my princess, my future queen. The assembled wolves howled. Anya felt tears prick her eyes. She looked around at the life she'd built, the father she'd reclaimed, the truth she'd discovered, the fear she'd overcome. She'd been raised to fear the Alpha King, to believe he was a monster who wanted to destroy her, to think that her kidnapping was salvation instead of tragedy. But the truth was so much different. The truth was a father who'd loved her so much, he'd spent 15 years searching, who'd never given up hope, who'd welcomed her home with open arms and patient love, who'd given her time to heal, space to grow, an unwavering support as she became who she was meant to be. The Alpha King wasn't a monster. He was her papa. And she was his daughter. Finally. Fully. Forever. And that was worth every difficult moment of discovering the truth. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free, and it helps more people hear these stories.